There's dirt on my hands, strong like a tree. There's roots where I stand. Oh, I've been running from the law. Try to catch me howling at the moon.
All right, welcome everyone to Recovery Unplugged Live. Hey, Amy.
How are you?
I'm good. Everyone just watched the Old King Cole trailer. It looked like it said that was from Blue Boots Productions. That's from Del Weston and the gang.
Right. Action on Film Festival. Blue Boots is Annabelle Monroe's, but everybody who acted in it also directed it and produced it.
Okay.
But the main two directors are Annabelle. Anyway, everybody directed and acted. And I wish I could have been there, but, I had already gone in September, and I didn't exactly have the money to fly out there again.
Right.
But that trailer is, incredible. The music, and Dell just has a presence.
Yeah.
And so does Aaron and Annabelle and everybody else in the trailer.
You can tell it has a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So.
I'm very excited to see the whole thing. I think it's going to be played at AOF MegaFest this summer.
Right on. So what's new with you? Any updates?
I can allude to my manager has Ray has requested. I had to go look at my body of work, or me and Missy's body of work, for what would be a good fit with Ray. And if you know who that is, that's a Rejuvenaze company. And then she also had a meeting with another group, and we went through our scripts, and we gave what the projected budget was, and they wanted incredibly limited location, limited cast, no effects. So we sent one, and we gave the projected budget. It was like a 7-member cast and 5 locations. It's probably very simple to do. And they asked to see the pitch deck and the script for it.
Okay, nice. That's good stuff.
Yes, and I'm still waiting to hear from Global Film Festival Awards. And this Friday, the review drops on Movie Guide for Letters to Daniel.
Right.
And I've got and then and also Valio's score for Letters to Daniel has been accepted for submission and to be considered for judging for the nomination process of the Academy Awards. That
is good stuff. So who did you invite tonight, and why did he say yes? And what are you guys going to talk about?
Well, I invited my dad, who is a public defender, and for a time he worked. Why don't you describe what it was? He was the mental health, basically, mental inquest warrant. What, Dad? What is it you did? You advocated for the mentally ill.
I said yes because I'm your dad, and you asked me, so I said okay. And even though it's past my bedtime for me, but I'm a public defender. I'm in my 20th year, And what I would do uh, uh, is different areas of defense, criminal defense for the indigent. And I did spend well over a year as a mental inquest warrant attorney, which was I helped represent people who were held for mental inquest warrants, people who were considered to be a danger to themselves or others, usually a family or friends, would would go to the courthouse and file out a form or swear out a affidavit that someone was dangerous. Usually, people were suffering either serious long-term mental illness or some sort of short-term crises.
So, what I think, because I have bipolar disorder, and I'm not going to mention names because it's not my place to, but I have a sibling who also who deals with mental illness, and I have a couple of cousins who do. And how do you think that influences or colors the way you
The way that you
approach
froze on me.
that particular inquest one? Oh, uh,
What you said.
okay. So I said I have mental illness. I have a sibling who does. We have several family members who also have it. And I was wondering how that colored your approach to your job at that period of time.
Well, I mean, it certainly made me more aware, I suppose, of, of the personal aspects of it. I mean, it's always when someone has a mental illness, it involves the family, and many times the family's doing their best to try to help or to deal with it in one way or the other, and it becomes a crisis for the whole family. So, I mean, I was certainly aware of that in the sense of having it in our family, and in fact, just dealing with, we found certainly I found many similarities in dealing with it. But I mean, it always ended up you were trying to help people get through a bad time, trying to help them get treatment. Since I'm the public defender, I'll protect their rights too, but at the same time, try to help guide them to what will probably get them where they want to go, which for most of them was simply out of the problem they were in, because they would lose their freedom for a time during these, usually relatively short, because they would end up, if they could get out of the mental hospitals, and that would be the thing I would do, and try to guide them through it, and protect their rights and allow them. A big thing for me was always allowing my clients the right to speak, and feel they had a voice, and feel they had a chance to express their own needs and what they felt. And some had a better grip on reality, some rather tenuous grip on reality, but they all had a need to feel listened to and respected. And I tried to always honor that while trying to help them get through this situation, and which could involve a few days to a few weeks usually before they were hopefully freed or back to their families. And many times you'd see that work quite well, especially for many it was just a question of getting the right medication, or a chance to be guided into better behavior forms. But for many, you could see almost a overnight turnaround with the right medication, and we tried to do that. And I enjoyed that work very much. We rotate things in our office, so I didn't do it forever, but I did do it for well over a year, and I really enjoyed it.
How did you start doing work in representing or in working with persons with mental health diagnoses?
Well, that was something that was assigned to me as a public defender.
Gotcha.
And that's how I ended up doing that. Now, I will say this, having been a public defender, uh, as probably any public defender could tell you, you end up dealing on your regular representation. You deal with many people who have different problems, mental health issues
Mm-hmm.
that may be greater or lesser to their needs or to their problem. For some, it's, I've always said, for many, some people needed medication. Some, often the problem was drugs. It was either they needed to be on certain drugs or needed to get off of certain drugs. Many times you had people who were charged with drugs. It was simply a question of self-medicating, and you try to help them. And our legal system really doesn't. It's trying to do better, and it's trying to focus more on treatment and helping people get off of addiction. But it's still a long way to go, and there's certainly not enough resources to help people do that. But it's gotten better. There really is less of a punitive aspect in many cases, but it's certainly one of the things you deal with every day as a public defender. You're defending people who have problems, and I mean, it can lead to from everything from drug charges to domestic violence to just the run-of-the-mill what people call crimes, theft and breaking and entering and robbery. All those things are really, in many cases, feeding an addiction, which may really have started because of some sort of mental health issue.
Sure.
Okay, so on a more personal note, what do you think is the easiest thing about living with someone with serious mental illness versus what's the hardest thing?
The easiest thing versus the hardest thing? Well, I guess my problem in your case more often than not was just you're very bright, and I always knew that, and very capable, and it used to frustrate me because it took a long time for me to really accept the mental illness, even though it was clearly there, just because I hated it, because I did see you as someone very bright and capable. And I mean, the nice thing is that it does provide a connection. I guess that's I do enjoy the fact that we're still involved in each other's lives, and that we still have a relationship, and I guess it has allowed us to be more connected to each other because of helping you deal with your issues and helping you as you pursue your career. So I've enjoyed that, and I think I probably gave me a closer connection simply because you did have needs that we could help, Mom and I could help provide, but and gave us a real connection with you.
Any question? Do you have a question, John?
Was there? You had mentioned. I think it was something along the lines of that you hated the diagnosis or the thought of Amy having that diagnosis. What? How did that come about, or like what was that? Is it just because you didn't?
I guess it's because I know how bright and capable she is, and sometimes
it's just hard to wrap your head around.
You kind of have a sense of, it took me longer really to accept the mental illness because Amy can be extremely bright and extremely intelligent and creative, and it was hard for me sometimes to recognize that the times we had conflict or issues were often a result of mental illness or the aspects of mental illness that we were dealing with. And I guess, from knowing her from, what was it, a year and a half? So
Yes.
it's like my baby. And to it was it helped me better understand. Eventually, I did, but it was difficult because I guess you like to think everything's going to be okay and that these are just somebody's just having a bad day or an issue, but recognizing that there's more to it, that there's an underlying mental illness that you have to deal with.
Gotcha.
And it probably was just too close to me emotionally, and there was a sense of denial for a while. I mean, not too long.
But can I say something? Let me interject something here. I never felt that. To his credit, I never felt that.
It was his own struggle.
Yeah,
Right.
it was his own struggle. He often said he looked at it as he goes that I was gonna get over it, and he had to come to realize I had certain limitations.
Yeah. I mean, it's a kind of a.
I never felt his struggle.
It's not that easy. I guess because you do look at somebody you love very much and respect very much, and you just accepting those certain limitations is hard sometimes, I guess.
But he's a good dad.
Is Amy your favorite person that has a bipolar diagnosis? No, I can't put you on record saying that. I'm just teasing.
Yeah, I mean, I have a sister who has it. I have two cousins who have it.
We can't put him on record
3 cousins who have it.
He can't besmirch any other family members tonight. That's not the purpose of the show. That would turn it into a Jerry Springer show, and we don't want to go there. What do you have any other interesting stuff? What's a very unique story or something that you remember fondly as a public defender other than what we've currently been talking about? Do you have just a fun story that you recall?
Well, just you're often dealing with people who are in such denial. Mm-hmm. And I had, people who have clearly aspects of mental illness.
Are you a lawyer?
Yeah, that was one of my favorites. Early on he wasn't sure if I was a lawyer. Or they get confused about public defenders and that we are lawyers.
Gotcha.
Says, are you a lawyer? I've been growled at by one. What? I swear.
He
looked behind him. Nobody was there, but all of a sudden he just growled at the whole room and turned back at me. That was odd. And it was.
What about the guy with the soap in his mouth that foamed?
Yeah, I did have a couple like that. It's just, it was sad. You're dealing with some people who just clearly have severe mental illness.
Yeah.
And trying to help them, and of course to be in charge of stuff. And the sad thing is, just because they have mental illness doesn't mean they're going to avoid they're going to charge them, because you have, when you try to find them incompetent, so often it seems like the standard is so low. I usually call it the drool test. If they're not drooling on their feet, they're considered competent, when clearly they have severe mental illness and should be treated for that instead of trying to be punished. It certainly doesn't help them, and certainly doesn't help society, I think, for doing that.
Yeah.
And, I had one guy, one of my favorite was this guy had mental issues as well as drug addiction, and it took me a long time trying to help him. He was all on camera, and it took a long time for him. He was at a convenience store in line getting, and unfortunately the lady pulled out the cash drawer just ahead of him, so he grabbed the cash drawer and pushed her, which in our state makes it a felony robbery because there's touching, by shoving her and grabbing the money. And he ran, which was bad, but what was really bad was he was in line because he had his truck parked there to get gas. So he left his vehicle and ran off with gas. So he was kind of, it took later on that night, he tries to come back to get, the cops are right there in the ground.
Oh, wow.
And then, of course, it's all on tape, and it took the longest time to explain to him that just because you don't really remember it because you were in a blackout doesn't really mean it didn't happen. It's there,
Yeah.
We finally worked out something, but it was bad.
And you touched on that a couple times about kind of the imbalance, like the punitive efforts towards managing mental health or persons that
Yeah.
have apparent mental health issues. What more should be done or could be done that we're not doing? I know that they went away from institutions, but and it doesn't sound like mental health is like bottom rung of like what gets funding federally and statewide. It's terrible. So what should what can we do to better
It
advocate?
really is a question in many cases of funding and funding, and also just an attitude, which is trying. I do see it more in our jurisdiction, dealing with a lot of the prosecutors. They show a lot more understanding, especially in the drug addiction and substance abuse charges. They do recognize what they're mostly, you can see it, is they're trying to find some way to get some sort of settlement that involves treatment. And just, it is still hard to find, a lot of times, to find places for people, especially when there's no money, and so many of our clients have nothing, and finding them not only the treatment, but a place to live or something, to get them out of jail. Many times we're scrambling. We've got people in jail. The judges are willing to let them out, but they don't want to let them out completely on their own because they're not, not the best risk for themselves. They're trying to find a home incarceration or some agency, and the beds are limited. So there's a real frustration there.
Sure.
I have a story. Whenever I was in high school, and really when the doctors think my illness first started manifesting, I played field hockey. And whenever Dad and Mom would come to a game, it was mostly Dad who came to my games because Mom is a teacher, so it conflicted with her ability to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But we lost a lot.
Yeah.
And I would get super angry, like rage, right? And we called it the 20-minute no talk rule. Like on the way home, I couldn't say anything because they would try to make me feel better,
mm-hmm.
but I would just rant and rave. So there was the 20-minute no talk rule. But I hear, funny enough, in NASCAR, I hear Kevin Harvick has the same rule. When they get on the plane, he's not allowed to talk if they lose.
See, it's good coaching. good coaching strategy.
Yeah, I helped kind of get us home. He was very frustrated.
You were managing it before you even knew you were managing it.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I look at it like this. I'm a much gracious loser.
I'll tell you what, I'm the same way.
Yeah.
That would have been me. Which is why I didn't excel in team sports, because I get too frustrated. And I get too frustrated in activities if I don't win.
But I found my favorite sport was running, because that's something you're only competing, like if you're not at the elite of the elite levels, the only person you're competing against is yourself.
Right.
And that was like, running is the most welcoming of all sports, because all you need are a pair of sneakers and you can go out and walk, or you could go out and run. He introduced me to it. Like when I was in middle school, we would go to Iroquois Park and we would go running, but actually that has become a way that the running or the walking, as long as I do it in the morning, it has become a way to manage. It's one of the ways I manage my illness. Like if I'm depressed and I go and I walk for 10-15 minutes, the adrenaline gets up and it'll lift me. Maybe not completely out of it, but I won't be so immobilized by it. And Dad introduced that to me. So,
I enjoy hiking, and there is a real therapeutic aspect of this walking, and kind of it's just like a meditation by walking, and I enjoy that. Used to enjoy running until I tore my knees up, and now I got artificial knees, so I do a lot of walking. So I enjoyed that.
Okay. Do you have anything else for my dad? Because he looks like he's about ready to.
Well,
pass
I was
out.
gonna wonder if you were gonna ask him the questions. If your life was a movie, what would the title
Okay,
be?
yeah. Okay, I'll ask him those questions. If your life was a movie, what would the title be, Dad?
Sleeping in front of the computer. No, just kidding.
My walk with Amy, I guess, or something. I don't know. It's my life with my wife and kids. They really are the center for my life, and I really enjoy it.
And your grandkids?
And grandkids. They're all involved. They're all involved as kids. I think of you all as kids.
Okay. If you could cast anyone in the known cinematic universe to play you in that movie, who would it be?
Anybody to play me.
Yeah, like an actor in the movie.
Oh, somebody with sense of humor. Maybe John Lovitz or something.
John Lovitz.
What about Clint Eastwood? What about Clint Eastwood?
Clint Eastwood. Chair.
Did you hear what my dad said?
No, what'd he say?
He said, "I'll talk to a chair."
Oh, yeah. I forgot he did that.
He probably wishes he did too.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Okay. I can't remember the others. I did fly by the seat of my pants because I had to write. I hope I get a draft of a pitch deck done. Let's see. If I say, what advice do you have for those with mental illness who are pursuing any? I usually ask someone in the arts, like in the industry, but really any professional career. What advice would you give them?
The only thing I could think is just to get treatment and to hopefully have a support system of family or friends, and to I think, like you've shown, to be open and honest about it, to not hide it, to bring it out there as part of your life, and by doing that, I think you get more help and support, and I think you can deal with it honestly that way and still be creative as an artist like you do.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, John.
If you want to sign out.
Welcome, baby. All right. Bye-bye.
All right. So what's up next? So remember, next week.
Well,
next week we have to do it on a different day or not do it. Because at the first we can't do on Monday.
Okay, are we still live?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You want to wait? I'll show the trailer and then we can talk about it?
Yeah. Let's
All right,
do
everyone.
that.
We're out of here. We'll let you know later when we're coming back. Good night, everyone.
I think the next couple of weeks.
Dear Daniel Craig, life did not always look like this. This marked a moment of triumph, a way of crushing an abysmal past and daring those with a stereotypical view of those with mental illness to challenge me on any front. To many, this was just a documentary. For me and Missy, this was our life.
It's like my skin is coming off. And my thoughts, they're racing so fast. I can't keep up.
I'm suffering too, you know. You're not the only one.
It's like my mind is coming apart and I can't get it to come together.
I think it's more than just that. Amy's been having a really hard time lately. She goes on these crying jags. She explodes without warning. She's so angry and so paranoid these days. She's not the happy Amy that I remember from Kentucky.
She thinks you're manic depressive. I, however, do not. I think this is something you've been obsessing on. I believe that it's all in your head.
a great week for us. Just come here. We're going to get you some help. It'll be okay. You do have a diagnosis. You have rapid cycling manic depression.
Dear Daniel Craig, bipolar disorder and those that saw it as contagious sought to pull me under, snap me in half, break me down. Even those well-intentioned do-gooders who see therapy and medication as bad and wrong, who see mentally ill individuals as hapless and hopeless, they're wrong. I found hope in your work. A comrade in Missy, my rock when no one else understood. You two are my twin lights when this disease threatened to take me down. And treatment was what got me through. Thank you, Daniel, for your talent and your work. Thank you for everything. Sincerely, Amy McCorkle.